Well, good afternoon, my friends. It's now 3 o'clock. The Portland Trailblazers are in action tonight, game number 2. The Golden State Warriors are in town fresh off their overtime victory against the Nuggets last night in San Francisco. With Chauncey Billups on leave, Tiago Splitter will be the acting head coach. Tip-off set for 7 right here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. I'll be live from Moda with the Rip City Drive from 3 to 5. Chris Burkhart's got Blazers game day at 5. And the tip-off at 7. And following the game, check out the fifth quarter with Chris Burkhart. Every game streams live on Rip City Radio 620 on our free iHeartRadio app. The World Series will kick off tonight. First pitch at 5 on Fox. Dodgers and Blue Jays in Toronto. You Savage and Snell, your pitching matchup. Purdy and Pearsall are both out. The Niners play at the Texans Sunday at 10. Houston favored by a point. Rip City Drive's coming up next. Brian Bino, Fox Sports Radio at 3:20. Sean Hiken, our Trailblazers insider at 4:20.
Yeah! Guard wearing the letter O. Damian Lillard. Yeah! Yeah!
Boy, how nice was that to see Dame get introduced at Moda Center on Wednesday night in front of the home crowd. I thought that was pretty awesome. What's going on, my friends? Rip City Drive with Chad doing. I hope you are enjoying your Friday. Looking forward to basketball tonight because we got the Golden State Warriors in town. That means Steph Curry. That means Draymond Green. That means a lot of fake Warrior fans who were Laker fans, then became Warrior fans, and are now transitioning back to being Laker fans. They'll fill up Moda Center tonight. Tip-off is coming up at 7 o'clock. And I'm going to be here live from Moda Center until 5. Chris Burkhart will take over with Blazers Game Day at 5. And I'll have the network pregame show at 6 o'clock. You can jump on board and reach out to me at 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. That's the telephone number. I have another pair of tickets for Adam Sandler, who's going to be at Moda Center coming up on the 28th. We'll give away a pair of tickets coming up at 4:45. All you have to do is listen to me for your chance to win. And also a reminder, Brian No, Fox Sports Radio is coming up in 20 minutes. We got to talk ball with him. He was at the USC Notre Dame game in South Bend last weekend. And then Sean Hiken, our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report, will stop by and join me here at Moda Center coming up at 4:20. You can find me on social at Chad and Rip City. And a friendly reminder that every single Trailblazer game streams on Rip City Radio 620 via our free iHeartRadio app. So it's a great way to listen to the game. You can hear the call with Travis Demers no matter where you might be bumping around town. Utilize the app, and it will be there for you. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. A lot of different things I want to touch on today. We'll talk a lot of football with Bino. We got some big games coming up in both college and the NFL this weekend. Now, as you all are aware of the news that's gone down over the last 48 hours, Chauncey Billups is on leave, and that means that Tiago Splitter is going to step in as the acting head coach. He's going to meet with the press and do a typical coach conversation before the game. Looking forward to getting to his insight. But, this game's going to be great tonight, and I'm most excited to see how the team responds with all of the news that's gone down. I have a feeling they're going to play really well. And the one thing I know about athletes, being around them, working with them, talking to them, is that they tend to deal with change and disruption pretty well. They have a way of compartmentalizing what's going on and focusing on the task at hand. They're really good at that. And they're used to change. They're used to curveballs. They've been dealing with it their whole life. And so I expect the players to respond and play really well tonight. And the best way to deal with a storm or some of the dark clouds that may be overhead, win. It's always the answer. Go out and win a game tonight. Now, the Warriors are coming into town. I watched their game last night with Denver, and they had an overtime victory. Steph Curry was unbelievable down the stretch and in the overtime period. And aside from his heroics, it was quite the miracle that they won that game. So the Blazers are catching the Warriors in a good spot where second of a back-to-back. They played an overtime game last night. They're a veteran team, and the Blazers, of course, are coming in with rest after their opening night loss to Minnesota. So I think the best thing that we can do as Blazer fans is just, support the team, cheer for them, get behind them, encourage them, and provide the energy here in the building that is required, for the players to go out there and ball out. And I was excited coming off the opener. I've talked to a lot of people, even though they lost the game because Anthony Edwards is a freak and was unbelievable in that fourth quarter. There's a lot of good things coming out of that opener. Their intensity, the way they were able to play on both ends, the movement on offense, and the pace at which they played was tremendous. I think the number is they had 24 uncontested threes in the ballgame. The problem is they only made 6 of those. Chances are if they continue to get those looks, we know one thing, the percentages are going to go up. And when that happens, good things are going to take place. So a lot of great individual performances, but as a team, they went out and played with the scrappiness. And the best way it was put to me by somebody a little bit earlier who's with the team is that he hasn't been this excited or looked forward to seeing them compete on both ends in a long time. And that's what we got in that opener on Wednesday. I know it's a loss, and that's irritating, but so what, man? You're looking for signs of life, and we saw a lot of good things. Really liked the intensity. I thought Jeremy Grant off the bench was phenomenal with 29 points. He had, a certain energy to his game, and he played with purpose. Denny Avdia was terrific. Shaedon Sharpe had a good game. He was engaged on both ends. He just didn't make shots. That was the difference between his night being good and being great. But if he gets the same type of looks tonight, some of those are going to go down. So I'm pretty pumped about the game tonight, and I expect this team to go out and give a tremendous effort in spite of all the different things that have gone on over the last 48 hours. And there you have it. Athletes are really good at adapting and adjusting on the fly, and I would expect that tonight. But most importantly, from the people I've spoken with, and the Godfather Dwight James joined the program yesterday, there are a lot of people around the league who think that Tiago Splitter has the chops and the ability to be a really good coach. And what a great opportunity for him to step in and showcase what he can do. And that's pretty nice. Now, Nate Bjorkgren is going to stay in his current role. He preferred to be in that role. And I think with the experience they have on the staff with Tiago Splitter and then some of the veterans on the team, they're going to be fine. So I'm looking forward to the game tonight. And anytime the Warriors are in town, it's fun to watch because Steph Curry is so unbelievable. His shot making, the way he gets to his spots, even in the face of good defense, he can still bomb away from anywhere on the floor and get things to go down. The other thing I noticed last night, too, even though they did not win the game, Denver did a heck of a job of restructuring their roster, giving them more depth and a better second unit to be able to help the vets like Jokic and Murray. So very impressive. So there you have it. That's what we got tonight. Adversity, energy, an uncertainty about how people will respond, but I think it's going to be very good. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you down here. And if you want to interact and jump on board, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I also got word earlier today, my brother Chris, he lives in Georgia. He's been rushed to the hospital. He's dealing with cancer right now. And he's not doing well. He's in a lot of pain right now, and my parents are jumping on a bird tomorrow morning to go and be with him. And, my brother and I have never been, tight, like bros. We love and respect one another, but we've never had a tight relationship. That's just not the way it was for us. He was older, and, when he graduated from high school, he left and started his own journey, so we never really had a chance to connect. But over the course of time, we still – we'll share the conversation occasionally, but over the last couple of weeks, he's really been reaching out a lot. And he was diagnosed a while ago with prostate cancer, and it has spread. And so he's been on me big time about getting checked, making sure that I stay on top of that. And he's been, very friendly in his conversation of late, reminiscing about things we did when we were younger, different video games that we played. He let me know that the Intellivision is going to be brought back by Atari, and it's got 60 games already loaded up on it with the chip. And so he's just been talking about different things, but, he told me to get checked. He goes, the last thing you want is to have a doctor look you in the eye and say you've got 6 to 20 months to live. So I just want to let my brother Chris know that I'm praying for him. And, Chris, I love you. And, it's unfortunate. I wish that we were tighter. But I love and respect him. And, I've always admired the fact that he's like a wallflower. He can go anywhere and adapt to any type of situation. And he's also very intelligent. And he's a good dad. And, his son Cole, I fear for what he may miss out on the future potentially. So we'll see how things shake out, but that's what's going on with my brother. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I want to talk to Noah about some of these big matchups we got coming up in the NFL this weekend. The Broncos are going to host the Cowboys. I think Denver's like a 3 or 3.5 point favorite. I love the Broncos at home this weekend over Dallas. I think this is a get-right game for Denver after that miracle game against the freaking Giants. But I expect Denver to play extremely well. And Dallas, their defense is awful, and I think the Broncos are going to be able to move the football. But mad respect for Dak Prescott this year. 16 touchdowns, 3 picks. He's playing like an MVP, and he's got Dallas in a position to where they're competitive. Also a big shout-out to Brian Schottenheimer, who is doing a heck of a job coaching that team. He wasn't their first or second option as coach, but he stepped in and done a heck of a job. And I like Brian Schottenheimer, and it reminds me of, USC when they hired Pete Carroll. He was like the third or fourth option. He wasn't the number one option, but he stepped in and turned that team into a dynasty. I just think that Schottenheimer's got a chance to be good, and so Dallas, Denver's a big game. But the game I love the most, the Steelers at home as an underdog on Sunday night against the Packers. That's like Mike Tomlin territory right there as a home dog. I think the Steelers are going to come out and get a big win over the Packers. And with Green Bay, I think they're a legit contender. But like a lot of teams who experience the ebbs and flows of an NFL season, their offense is just a little bit amiss right now. And so they're still searching and trying to find themselves. And the weird part is Kansas City's at 4-3. They got off to a slow start, but they might be the best team in football today. So if you look around the NFL, everyone's going to have their streaks. They'll have periods where they play extremely well, and then you have situations where, you go through a bit of a funk. And Denver right now is trying to find themselves offensively. I like the Texans to upset the 49ers at home this weekend. We know that Pearsall and Purdy are going to be unavailable. I just think that's a good spot for Houston to get right after that Monday night loss at Seattle. So those are the games I want to talk about with Brian Noe. I thought the Chargers had a nice bounce back last night. 3 touchdowns for Justin Herbert. And their defense was much better, especially up front after getting annihilated by the Indianapolis Colts. But big props to Herbert. I love watching him play. His offensive line is battered right now, and so he's under a lot of pressure. But I think he showcased some of the different skill set that he has in terms of, movement, timing, getting rid of the football. He's done a heck of a job, and I'm a big fan of Jim Harbaugh. We got some big games in college football as well. You can jump on board 503-248-0620. We'll talk with Brian Noe coming up next. B-No, Fox Sports Radio. Sean Hyken's going to stop by at 4:20, and then just remember, at 4:45, we're going to give away a pair of tickets for Adam Sandler. It will be your chance to see him at Moda Center on the 28th. You've got the Rip City Drive tip-off with the Blazers and Warriors coming up at 7 right here in your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
Yeah!
All right, we do have a statement released from Chauncey Billups' attorney, Chris Haywood, and the release came out today, and he says, anyone who knows Chauncey Billups knows he's a man of integrity. Men of integrity do not cheat and defraud others. To believe Chauncey Billups did what the federal government is accusing him of is to believe that he would risk his Hall of Fame legacy, his reputation, and his freedom. He would not jeopardize those things for anything, let alone a card game. Furthermore, Chauncey Billups has never and would never gamble on basketball games, provide insider information, or sacrifice the trust of his team in the league, as it would tarnish the game he has devoted his entire life to. Chauncey Billups has never backed down. He does not plan to do so now. He will fight these allegations with the same tenacity that marked his 28-year career. We look forward to our day in court. All right, joining us now is my good friend and my brother from another mother from Fox Sports Radio, Mr. Brian Obino. What are you doing in Los Angeles, brother?
Just causing some mayhem. Just looking for an up-and-up poker game over here. You know, no X-ray vision, nothing of that sort. I'm on the prowl for that here. Maybe I should go somewhere else for that, though. I don't know, Chad. Doing crazy times.
All right, it is crazy times. I know you talk ball. I know you talk ball and you love to follow stories. Like, what was your reaction when you read the reports over the last 48 hours?
Well, it's just crazy. And I had a couple of friends reach out, and they're like, I just can't wrap my head around, like, say, Terry Rozier and all the money that he's made. Why is he accused of doing anything like this for, you know, pennies on the dollar compared to what he makes with his NBA contracts? And the best reason I can come up with is that they never thought they were going to get caught. I think it's that simple. I don't know if it goes any deeper than that. If it's, hey, I get a little bit of pocket change here, I get another score there. Maybe they like the action of it. I don't know. Maybe they like working the system. If you're talking about Terry Rozier and what he's accused of, but I don't think the thought enters of like, man, the risk isn't worth the reward. If I get busted here, it's not smart. I don't think they think along those lines. I don't think the thought of I might get busted even enters the chat, if you will. So I don't know, man. I can't explain it. I can't justify it. It just makes no sense whatsoever. But if you're asking me, how does this even happen? I think that's how.
Well, you know, I was thinking about this, and of course I've got a checkered past when it comes to gambling. But the one good thing about legalization, no, is that I think it could end up being a good thing from this standpoint, where now you've got everything on the up and up. So you've got the leagues, which have these gambling partners, and the casinos, which are communicating with the leagues. So now anytime there's some type of, you know, suspicious activity or things that don't really add up, they can communicate and start their investigations, and we are able to get to the bottom of this kind of stuff. And I think for the integrity of sport, maybe that could be a good thing with both the casinos and the leagues, these sports books, staying on top of things with their technology and bringing the league in so they can have these investigations.
Yeah, no doubt. And what's weird about this, and I get it, because you never used to hear about these type of things as often as you do now. So I understand the thoughts of, man, this didn't happen before legalized sports betting. At least you didn't hear about it to the same degree. And that's true, I would agree, but I just compare it to, I'm looking at whatever highway is in front of me. I think it's the 405. I pulled off, Chad, because, you know, I'm an ally of sound quality, not just clock integrity here. You know?
And I love you for it.
Yeah, thank you. But I'm looking at the highway, and just imagine if the cops started patrolling a certain area of the highway, and we're talking radar guns, we're pulling over people left and right. You might look at that and say, wow, people never got pulled over at this stretch of the highway before. Like, people must be speeding like crazy these days. It's like, no, people have always sped through that area of the highway. It's just they have more ways of catching you now. And so it seems like speeding just began. It's always been there, and I think that's where we are with sports betting. Now that you have more regulations, now that you have more eyeballs looking at things that are improper, looking at red flags, and people are getting busted left and right, It seems like we have problems we never used to have before. It's just we have more radar guns, and people are getting busted more often for doing what they've always done.
Do you follow a story like this a little closer because you're a prop guy? You love placing your prop bets?
I mean, I'm interested in like anything betting wise or anything drama wise, anything illegal. So this checks a lot of boxes. But what I find interesting connected to it is a guy like Adam Silver saying, "Hey, we're working with our relationships with betting sports books and companies, and we're trying to eliminate certain prop bets." When I start hearing that, and I'm like, whoa, we're talking about eliminating things and shortening the menu, that's when you really get my attention. And I get it. Like, I don't want to be selfish and think how this just impacts me if I like placing bets on props. But I have to think of the other side also. If I'm running the NBA, this is not good press for your league. So if I'm Adam Silver, I would be looking for ways to try to limit this drama from continuously coming out. So I get both sides of that, but that does definitely get my interest for sure.
And we're talking to the great Brian O from Fox Sports Radio, who was kind enough to pull over on the 405 so we could have a clear transmission for the show because he's a radio pro, and we respect that. I'm real jealous, man. Last weekend you were in South Bend, Indiana. Your family was celebrating a birthday, and you had a chance to go see Notre Dame and USC, a great football game. And the Irish, after a slow start against some good competition with Miami and A&M, they look like they're figuring it out on both sides, especially with their young quarterback.
Yeah, man, it was great being there. It was my mom's birthday the next day. Her birthday was October 19th. That was a Sunday. So we were out there late Saturday night watching the Irish in the elements, Chad. It was raining, like, pretty decent in the second half. So it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. I'm very happy the Irish pulled it out. You got to go there one time, Chad. Like, I'll tell you what, if you make a road trip there and you need someone to show you around, I'll make a road trip there. I'll be like, oh, the Grotto, you want to see that? I know exactly where that's at. You want to see Touchdown Jesus? No problem. But as a college football fan, that is a box that you definitely have to check off the list there.
Okay, now hold on for a second. You just stumbled onto something that I think needs to be done. How about if I make the effort to fly out and go to an Irish game, would you come with me? Because if you and I could do that together and I get a chance to go with someone who's a domer like yourself, that would be epic.
Absolutely, man. I'd be happy to. It's, if you visit another country and you have someone who speaks the language, that's a big deal. Now, good luck. There's they speak English around Notre Dame, so you're good there. But, just to have someone that knows the lay of the land, yeah, absolutely, man. I'd be more than up for that.
Man, I think that would be a lot of fun. I've told you many a times my favorite college football game ever is Miami-Notre Dame from '88. I was into Lou Holtz, and I do buy into some of the mystique and the hype around Notre Dame. I've seen them play once live. That was at Air Force. And I got to be honest with you, man, I got the little warm and fuzzies. When they came out on the field for the first time and you had that clear skies and the Colorado sunshine hitting the golden helmets, I was like, oh, this is what it's all about.
You almost transferred over to, like, Notre Dame allegiance on the spot right there. I love that. That's a great story.
No, it's great, man. It's great to have you on the show, and I think Notre Dame looks really good. And what's crazy about college football right now, like you look around the country, Brian, I can't point to one team and say that they're clearly better than everybody else. Like, I feel like the playoff field, we could have 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 teams that have a legit shot at winning the whole thing, and I love that for the game.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's way better than not that long ago. It was Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, maybe Oklahoma every other year, and that was it. It was just rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. That's all it was, and that was not interesting to me. That's not as exciting as it is right now. And so, yeah, if you look at, say, like the top 10 teams, all these teams have strengths and weaknesses. A lot of the teams are more than capable of getting hot at the right time and winning it all. But that list is a lot longer than it used to be. And I think that's good for college football. I like when it's like that. I think that's the special ingredient with the NFL, why we love it so much. There's a lot of parity. There are a lot of teams that have a shot, at least a shot, to do major damage come playoff time and at least compete for a Super Bowl. It's not like, as much as I love the NBA, I hated the period when it was just wake me up when it's Warriors Cavs. That just was not exciting to me. I like when more teams are in the mix. I like when there's more unknown. And so I think it's a great time for college football.
I agree. All right, I want to talk about some of these NFL games and get your gambling hat on because there's a couple that jump out. But the first one I looked at this weekend, I thought, man, that's a perfect spot. Gambling Chad would love this. But what about the Steelers on Sunday Night Football at home getting 3.5 against the Green Bay Packers, who are not clicking on all cylinders? That is like the ultimate Mike Tomlin spot. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I think getting 3 in the hook, a lot of reasons to like the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers has played really good football. And, man, ever since those first 2 games for the Packers, where it was just Packers, 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 oh, my gosh, Packers, Packers, Packers. They won 2 home games, and one was on a Thursday night on a short week. You know what I mean? Like, let's settle down just a little bit there. And since that time, they have not looked like world beaters at all. They lost to Cleveland. They tied the Cowboys. They didn't cover against Arizona with their backup quarterback. They just haven't looked fantastic. So with their offensive line a little bit, banged up, the Packers, they just haven't steamrolled teams. So I don't love Steelers. I don't like Pittsburgh's defense this year, but they can rush the passer. They can do some things right. And I think just the Packers, the way they've looked, and the Steelers being at home dog, it's one of these games where when you look at the end of the season and the Steelers have another winning record and you're like, how did they do that again? It's a spot like this where they're going to be in the game to win it, and they just might do that. So I really like them plus the points.
All right, another game that interests me. How about Baltimore at home against the Bears? They're laying 7.5. It looks like Lamar Jackson's going to get back. We know how he does against NFC teams. Could this be the get-right game for Baltimore, who's been decimated by injuries early in the season?
It could be, but Derrick Henry hasn't had a great season at all. I don't love the Bears' defense, but I'll tell you what, they look like the 85 Bears compared to that Ravens defense. My God. Right? Baltimore's defense has been a wreck this season, and you're giving me a touchdown? I don't love the Bears. I don't love Caleb Williams, but, plus 7, I know the Ravens are desperate, and they're getting Lamar back, but I just have no faith in their defense. So I think that Caleb Williams is going to be able to throw for some yards. He might reach around 250. Their running game is as respectable as the Ravens has been this season. So I'll take the points. I'll take the Bears on the road in that one, Chad.
All right, another player that's been wildly impressive this year. How about Dak Prescott? Playing like a MVP, with 16 touchdowns and 3 picks. Cowboys on the road in Denver taking on the Broncos, who are coming off the miracle of all miracles. Denver laying 3.5. What do you think about this matchup?
I think that Dak is this year's Joe Burrow. You know how Joe Burrow went crazy last year and was an MVP candidate, but didn't win it because his defense sucked and they just had an average record, non-playoff team. I think that's the course that the Cowboys are on right now. Dak is playing great football. He really is. And now to get CeeDee Lamb back with George Pickens and Jake Ferguson is a receptions monster. Like, their offense is really difficult to stop. I don't like their defense at all. The Cowboys' defense is a wreck. But I told you, Chad, I'm sorry, man. I don't want to hurt your spirits here at all, but I am completely off of the Bo Nix Express, man. I am off the hype train completely. And he's going up against a terrible defense, but they're playing more man-to-man. And if there's ever a spot for the Cowboys defense to just play a little bit better than it has this season, I think this is the spot. And so I'll take the points again. I'm in the habit of taking the points here with at least the games that you've mentioned. I like the Cowboys plus 3 in the hook in this one.
All right. The one thing I was talking about earlier with the Cowboys, like I like Brian Schottenheimer, and everyone hated that move when the Cowboys hired him. But a lot of times, even like what we saw at USC, Pete Carroll was like the 3rd or 4th option when they hired him. Brian Schottenheimer, I got to give him some props. So far, He has done a pretty good job with that squad, and even though he's up against it defensively, that operation offensively with Dak has looked pretty clean. So I think he's done a good job thus far. What's your take on what you're seeing from Schottenheimer and the way he's running things there?
Yeah, he's done okay, and I think that's one of the main things that I look at with coaches is, like, what side of the ball is their background, right? And so with Schotty, it's definitely offense, right? Cowboys' offense looks great. So it's like that's the first box I think that you have to check. Where if you look at, say, Aaron Glenn and the Jets have enough talent defensively to play a lot better than they've played. And so I'm like, you're a great defensive coordinator. Why does the defense suck right now? That's really a bad look. So you've at least got to give Schottenheimer some credit for the offense looking as good as it does because that's his area of expertise. And I think that's where it starts. And also to that, because he is the head coach and overseeing the entire operation, he's in these defensive meetings throughout the week. Like, he's trying to get the defense up to snuff here. And a lot of the defensive guys, they're like, oh, man, we love it when the head coach is in the meetings, and it gives us a little bit more juice. So he's trying to expand. He's not looking at it like, well, hey, the offense looks good, so if the defensive coordinator and the defenders can do their job, we're cooking with grease right here. He's trying to trying to help that out as best he can as well. So that shows growth as a head coach overall. So, yeah, man, I can't say that he's been bad. You know, the offense has been great, and so he's at least been, like, average to good. And that's not horrible. You know, that's way better than the Jets. The Jets would kill for average to good right now.
Oh, how about their buffoon owner, Woody Johnson, throwing Justin Fields under the bus? And it's like, hey, idiot, you're the one that signed off on the $30 million in guaranteed money you gave him. It's like, I don't have time for bad owners throwing their quarterbacks under the bus because Justin Fields, look, he may not be able to deliver the football on time and on target from the pocket, but he's a good teammate and a good guy working as hard as he can. He plays for a crap franchise. That was bizarre.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's I don't know which is worse, Chad. Is it saying what he said, which is, man, it'd be great if we could complete some freaking passes around here, you know, or if he said what you said. If he's like, man, you know, we're up against it when the passer rating is what it is, when the completion rate is what it is, like, but we're the guys that signed him. You know, ultimately it's on us. I don't know which is worse, you know, like blaming himself first and the organization first and then Justin Fields, or just blaming Justin Fields. I don't know which would be worse for him to say as it relates to Fields. I really don't know. You have a take on that? Which would have been worse for Fields?
I don't think it really matters because it's the Jets. So Woody Johnson can basically do whatever he wants. Whatever he chooses is going to be the wrong decision, Brian. And I still love it, too, because I keep wondering every week, like, hey, Aaron Glenn, do you now understand why people say same old Jets? They are absolute garbage, Brian. Garbage. It's like between the Jets and the quarterback play of Geno Smith, it's like the two worst things for my eyes right now. It's awful. Awful.
It is bad. Unless, Chad, you're like me and have a futures bet on the Jets under 6.5 wins. I don't know, like, the mathematical calculation of, like, when they're
that's pure gold. Pure gold right
it's
now.
Beautiful, right? Yeah, like, when it gets to, I don't know, like, week, 12, 13, they're not going to have a chance. They could win out. They're not going to hit the over. So that's
a guaranteed
really
win
right now. Yeah.
No, that's terrific. I love that. Bino is with us. And you're right about coaches, you know, getting a grasp on their side of the ball when they take over a team. That's why I'm so mad at Sean Payton right now, because he's so wildly arrogant and wants to tell me how great he is all the time. And yet Vance Joseph's defense has been terrific, and his offense stinks to high heaven right now. It's like, come on, genius, figure it out.
Yeah, it's got to be better than what it's looked like. Look at compare it to Kyle Shanahan and the Niners. Look at all the injuries that they've dealt with.
Yes.
Their offense is still functioning really well, still gaining yards, still passing for yards. Christian McCaffrey looked great once George Kittle got back last week. They're still scoring points. Like, they haven't had Purdy hardly at all this season. And Mac Jones, he's playing great. He's playing really well. So, yeah, I'm with you on Sean Payton. I can't even believe this is real. Do you realize that Spencer Rattler has a higher passer rating than Bo Nix? That's a real
Don't
thing
tell me
right
stuff
now.
like that.
That's where we're at right now with the Sean Payton-led offense, where Rattler is lighting it up more than Bo Nix at this stage.
All right, I got to ask again, and I'm going to ask you this every week. Like, where are you at with the Colts right now? They continue to blow me away with their play, and Daniel Jones has been unconscious so far.
I like. It's a little bit like the college football thing that you were saying, Chad, where you look at these teams and you're like, well, they have their strengths, but, man, they've got weaknesses also. That's how I look at the Colts. Their offense has been great. Daniel Jones has been doing his thing, really good offensive line. They have a lot of playmakers that can put stress on a defense. Tyler Warren has been a fantastic rookie tight end. I like the Pittman Jr., Josh Downs in the slot, Alec Pierce in the mix. Like, I like what they bring to the table. I just don't like their pass rush, and I hate their secondary. But they've been outscoring teams. They go to the Chargers last week, and it's like, we're going to score 38 points, and we're going to pretty much kick your teeth in. There's nothing you're going to do about it. Right? Like, it's like, wow, okay, you went on the road. They've had some impressive performances where I just can't knock them like I used to. Their offense is that impressive. I do wonder when they play against better teams, that defense has got to cost them some games here relatively soon. But, man, offensively, I have to take my hat off, and it really does make Anthony Richardson look that much worse. Like, think about that. We're talking about firing Shane Steichen. He just had to have a halfway decent quarterback, and poof, look what's happened with Danny Dimes here. I'm sorry, Indiana Jones. We got to be up with the times over here.
That's
with
right.
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. Yeah, no doubt. Just like Cam Scattaboo and Jackson Dart are Arm & Hammer. So we got to stay up with the times. So those are the two latest nicknames. I like that.
All
right, now before you go,
I hadn't heard that before. That's really good.
Arm & Hammer's good. Now before you go, I'm curious, and I mean this seriously. Like, have you ever been to like an underground poker game?
Yeah, but not like the movie Rounders. Like I've been to plenty of like cash games, but it's nothing like crazy shady. You know what I mean? Like there's no metal door that you have to get buzzed into. It's not quite like that. So it's not quite on the Rounders level. But yeah, it's been like, hey, a friend of a friend of a friend is having a cash game, and it's like a little Rounders-ish, but not quite. So, no, I haven't been, like, all in, no pun intended, as far as that goes.
So you didn't have to be like Ace Ventura at the metal door where you're like, New England clam chowder, yes, and someone opens the door for you. None of that?
Yeah, I've had – well, I one of my friends at Fox Sports Radio, he takes part in a poker game routinely. And this was not that long ago. I think it's when Gilbert Arenas got busted. But he was like, dude, the poker game got broken up. And I had always intended to play in that poker game if I could ever get to L.A. Right. So, yeah, I guess maybe kind of close to going to one of those, but no, never actually been.
All right, Brian O, Fox Sports Radio. I will let you go now. Thank you for pulling off the freeway. And I am legitimately going to scour and find a date where we can wind up in South Bend together. That would be epic.
Absolutely. And make it a good game. We can't make this like for Rice or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it got to be like a legitimate, ranked on ranked type matchup. That'd make it even better for sure.
Well, if you listen to Lou Holtz, every team they play is a tough game. So there you have it.
I just don't know how we're going to move the ball on Temple. That's Lou right there for sure.
Yeah. All right, buddy. I appreciate you, man. Have a good time in Los Angeles, and we'll catch up next week.
All right, man. You have a great weekend, Chad. Enjoy the ball. I'll catch you later, buddy.
You got to be Fox Sports Radio. We'll keep things rolling. Sean Hyken going to join me coming up at 4:20. I'm live at Moda Center getting ready for the tip-off of the Warriors and Trailblazers on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, big thanks to Brian No, Fox Sports Radio. I went to the future schedules on Notre Dame, and guess who they have going to South Bend next year? The Miami Hurricanes. I'm in. And I text Brian No, B-No! And he said he's in, and so that's the game next year. Brian No and I will go to a Notre Dame game together, and it's only fitting that that would be the game because that's my favorite college football game of all time. Miami at Notre Dame, 1988. Brent Musburger on the call with Pat Hayden. The Catholics versus Convicts game. And the 30 for 30 on that sensational. But what a game that was. And whoever won that game was going to win a national championship. Notre Dame got it by a point, and they went on to top, I think it was West Virginia in the Fiesta Bowl to win the national championship. But I'm in 100% for that game next year with Bino. You know, Notre Dame's one of those things where I've always wanted to go to a game there. It's always looked special on TV, and the pageantry and the tradition that school has in college football is unmatched. So I'd love to check it out. I've never been there. Never been to South Bend, Indiana. But it's a place I would like to check out. So Bino said he's in, so we'll do that next year. Warriors, Trailblazers coming up tonight. Tip-off is at 7. The Golden State Warriors are coming off an overtime victory last night down in San Francisco where Steph Curry went wild late in the fourth and in the overtime period to help the Warriors secure a victory. And tonight, I think what I'm most excited about is the unknown, wondering how the team is going to respond tonight with all the stuff that's gone down over the last 48 hours. And so I can't wait because I think it's going to be a very good response. And so I'm anxious to see them come out and ball and see how they play. That stat I mentioned, I'll drop it again. I got it from Tom Habistro, but a very good sign about the Trailblazers' offensive movement. I'll share that with you next. Sean Heiken, our Trailblazer Insider, is coming up at 4:20. And I'll give away a pair of tickets for Adam Sandler coming up at 4:45 right here on the Rip City Drive.
a massage.
All right, your Portland Trailblazers are in action tonight. It's game number 2. The Warriors are in town, fresh off their overtime victory against the Nuggets last night in San Francisco. With Chauncey Billups on leave, Tiago Splitter will be the acting head coach. Tip-off is set for 7 right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. I'll be live from Moda Center with the Rip City Drive 3 to 5. Burkhart is going to be by with Blazers game day at 5 o'clock. Tip-off is at 7. And following the game, be sure to check out Fifth Quarter with Chris Burkhart. You can hear every game live, streaming on our free iHeartRadio app. The World Series is tonight, Game 1, first pitch at 5 on Fox. Dodgers and Blue Jays from Toronto. Blake Snell and Savage, your pitching matchup. Purdy and Pearsall are both out. The Niners will be at the Texans Sunday at 10. Houston favored by a point. And our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report, Sean Highkin, going to join me here at Moda Center coming up in 20 minutes. All right, Sean Highkin, our Trailblazer insider, going to stop by in 20 minutes. We got the tip-off with the Warriors and Trailblazers coming up at 7 right here in your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. I've got a cool story for you I want to share in just a moment, but I want to talk about Bino, Brian O from Fox Sports Radio for a moment. He and I have agreed to attend the Miami-Notre Dame game in South Bend next year. It would be the 38th anniversary of the 1988 game that Notre Dame won, the Catholics versus Convicts game, where they went on to win a national championship. And I've never been to South Bend, Indiana, and Bino's been there a ton, so it'd be great to go back with him because he could show me around and I could take in the pageantry. But take a listen to, I'm a big fan of like sports themes and opens, and Brent Musburger is like, his voice sounds like a father to me because I grew up listening to him on a variety of different games. Across a variety of different sports. I love Brent Musburger. The guy's a complete pimp and a stud. But take a listen to this classic open on CBS of that game, Miami and Notre Dame from '88, which is my favorite college football game of all time.
This sparkling jewel in South Bend, Indiana is a cradle of football memories. Home to the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Their legend lives in the immortal names. Coach Knute Rockne, a storied backfield known as the Four Horsemen. It's a brand of pageantry that simply means tradition. The Fighting Irish have evolved into college football's most famous team, and today they hope to write another chapter. The Miami Hurricanes are the nouveau riche of college football. They are the team of the 80s, winning 2 national championships in the last 5 years. They are still number 1, and today they will take on all of Notre Dame's tradition and seek their 37th straight regular season victory. 2 teams, 2 eras are about to clash. Number 1 Miami plays number 4 Notre Dame on CBS.
How great is that, man? That's Brent Musburger right there with a phenomenal open. So I'm all set for that. Now, this next story I want you to hear, some of you may have heard the interview, but Dan Patrick interviewed John Tesh today. And John Tesh is, well, he's a stud. He's a Radio Hall of Famer. He's been on TV. He's married to the beautiful Connie Selica. I love John Tesh, big fan of his, but he's also the man. He's a writer and composer, and he's the one that made the awesome NBA on NBC theme song, Around Ball Rock. Like, he created the thing. And so one of my favorite conversations with musicians is to talk about their songwriting process and how things come up and how they develop these different ideas. And I'm fascinated by it. And he shared the story. And I had not heard the story before until today. And so I was fascinated, and I wanted to share it with you. But take a listen to John Tesh. Here he is at a concert giving the story behind how he wrote Round Ball Rock. It's pretty awesome. and the song still gives me chills, as I would imagine it does for many of you. Because when you hear it, you know exactly what it means.
One of the things I've discovered is that there are many different ways to write a song, and the most unusual way came to me when I was in Europe about 4 or 5 years ago. I was trying to write a sports theme, and I did not have a piano in the hotel where I was staying, so I did probably what many of you have done, faced with a similar situation. I called my answering machine at home, and I left a message for myself. And although that sounds goofy, what happened was that theme that I sang into the machine is the theme that they play every time the Chicago Bulls crush another basketball team. So I am singing themes into my machine regularly. And special bonus for you folks, I have brought the original answering machine tape with me so I can play it for you. I know you are dying to hear it. There we go. But it has to be played on the original answering machine. So here now the original demo tape for this particular song for pro basketball.
Hi, this is a message for me about the NBA theme. Here's an idea. It goes like this.
All right, there you go. I love that story. Can you believe that? I had no idea. So he has this idea, and this is way back in the day, so we're looking at like 1990. He doesn't have a tape recorder or anything on him. It's not like he got digital recording equipment like we do now, or a cell phone that you can just use a voice recorder. So he calls himself and leaves himself a voicemail. And I remember doing that too. I can't remember. Maybe I was 20 years old when I got my own phone, and I had my first answering machine. And so I would do that sometimes where I had an idea or I needed to remind myself of something, so I'd call and leave myself a voicemail. I think we've all done that. Now, for you younger listeners out there, you're like, what the heck's an answering machine? Well, that's the way people got in touch with you back in the day. Because when I was younger, you'd leave the crib. You didn't have a cell phone. You were detached from communication. It was actually a healthy way to live life where you didn't have a phone in front of your face at all times. You'd leave the crib, you'd be gone all day, no one worried about you. You'd come back, check the answering machine, and be like, oh, I missed a call from Joe or Jeff or whoever. But that's how it was back then. But I love that John Tesh shared a story, and I did not know the story behind that. But what a legendary theme song it is. Now, tonight, the Trailblazers are going to be taking on the Golden State Warriors. So many things that were impressive in that victory that we saw, or the loss on Wednesday in the opener. But they did a lot of good things. Jeremy Grant with 29 points. We saw the pace at which they played. And the stat that Tom Habistro gave me today, 24 uncontested threes for the Trailblazers, but they only made 6. Obviously, if you continue to get that number of uncontested threes, the percentages are going to go up. But, after the game, Jeremy Grant was asked about the way that they played, the pace at which they played, and his role, coming off the bench.
We played good throughout the game. Like you said, I think the fourth quarter, it's got to be a little bit more poised. I think we had a few turnovers down the stretch. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But I think we had a good game all the way up into the end.
First game coming off the bench in 5-ish years. How do you feel?
I'm just trying to play basketball, to be honest. Whatever it is, I'm going to accept it, but I'm just trying to play basketball.
Is it different getting your rhythm, though? Like even just that?
Yeah, it's different, for sure.
It seems like it worked out okay, though?
I mean, like I said, I'm a basketball player. Like, wherever I'm at, I'm going to do what I got to do, so.
Being able to come off the bench and have that kind of performance, I mean, how did that feel? As you said, it impacted your flow, and yet you were able to get over it.
Yeah, I don't become a worse player because I'm coming off the bench.
It seemed like there was, and perhaps I'm reading too much into this, but it seemed like there was a certain intensity about the way you played tonight, though. You hit a corner 3 in the second quarter, you let out a big roar. I don't remember a lot of Jeremy Grant roars in the past. Like, there seemed like there was a little bit something there. What was there?
Yeah, for sure. Feeling good.
Good?
Yeah, I was feeling good.
What do you think happened in the fourth quarter? Was it just you guys missing a bunch of shots that you were making earlier in the game, or do you feel like you guys kind of started playing a different way or settling for shots or anything like that?
I think we was playing the same way. I think in the fourth quarter you got to kind of switch it up a little bit. But I think we're figuring it out. We're playing really, really fast right now. And, I think the fourth quarter, especially down the stretch, you got to kind of shift the way you're playing. So we'll figure it out.
Is this the fastest team you've ever played on?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Just building on that, Chauncey keep mentioned playing fast, both in the training camp and before the game. Do you think it's the same kind of fast in the training camp than what you guys have tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely still really fast. I think we did slow down a little bit in the game. We played the right way. We didn't rush too much. I think the fourth quarter, I think everything has to slow down a little bit. But like I said, we'll watch it and figure out.
You guys played some small ball tonight. I think you might even played some center in the first half. How do you feel like those lineups where you guys went a little bit smaller work tonight?
I mean, I think that was good. I mean, DC is great out there whenever he's on the court. Kind of switch it up sometimes. Me at the 5, Denny at the 5, whoever's at the 5. Kind of gives the other team a different look. So I definitely think it worked out.
All right, there's Jeremy Grant. I thought that was pretty open and honest communication from Grant. I just thought he played great basketball. I thought the team, a lot of good signs. As you know, sometimes you can, lose a game but win some of the battles or the war, and I thought the Blazers did a lot of good things. And so I'm excited to see tonight. I was just having a little off-air conversation with Sean Highkin, and, that's what's exciting about tonight is that it really can't go one of two ways. They're either going to come out and respond and play inspired basketball, or you could be flat coming off the news over the last 48 hours, and it could derail. I don't anticipate that happening because I think they're going to respond incredibly well, and I think they're going to play well. But, that unknown of, or uncertainty is what makes it so much fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing how all of that plays out. It's, it's fascinating. But, pros are pros. Athletes are so good at adjusting on the fly, dealing with change, compartmentalizing. And once they get between the lines, they normally lock in and focus because that's what they do. That's their arena. That's what they're used to. And so many of them are good at being able to do that, which is really cool. So I'm looking forward to that. And anytime you have a chance to watch Steph Curry, continue to perfect his craft, it's a lot of fun. He was sensational last night. We'll see what he's got tonight. But his long-range shooting and his ability to get separation and the way that he constantly moves is just – it's a thing of beauty. And so – again, the opening night game against Minnesota was a test because Minnesota's lengthy and they're physical and, they're a championship quality team. And in Golden State, a different type of a challenge because of their movement and the way that they play. There'll be opportunities there because, with the Warriors, they like to turn it over. So there'll be some opportunities there for the Blazers to cash in, and we'll see what they can do. And so I'm expecting a good performance tonight. What that means at the end of the night, I'm not sure. But I do think the Blazers are going to play well, and I expect them to win. So that's what I believe is going to happen tonight, and I think we'll see that response. The good thing is that they brought the physicality, and that's important for this group. Tiago Splitter is going to talk prior to the game tonight and do the normal coaches press conference, so it should be cool to get his insight on how things are going to shake out tonight. All right, when we come back, Sean Highkin, our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report, is going to join me here at Section 330. I'm at Moda Center getting ready for the tip-off for the Blazers and Warriors. Chris Burkhart's going to have game day coming up at 5. All right, he provides the best coverage of the Portland Trail Blazers. He is our insider. Sean Hyken is with me. What has this whirlwind been like for you over the last 48 hours covering the Chauncey Billups story?
Well, I mean, I woke up yesterday to 104 unread text messages, and I figured something must be up there, and then everything just kind of went from there. And now, 48 hours after they had a very, I would say, encouraging showing, even though they lost in their first game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're about to play the Warriors, and somebody else is going to be the head coach.
I'm most curious to see how the team's going to respond tonight. What are you most excited about for what we haven't seen yet tonight?
Well, this is really going to – and, I mean, it's kind of funny that, we're talking about this as the person that we're talking about is being investigated by the FBI for pretty serious stuff. But remember what happened a year ago when they had that blowout loss to Memphis, and Chauncey said afterwards that like anybody that sleeps well tonight is a loser.
Yes.
And then going into the next game against Minnesota, it was this is going to go one of two ways. They're either going to respond to that adversity or they're not, and it's going to go even more off the rails. In kind of a weird way, obviously the situation going on right now is a lot more serious on a lot of levels than losing by 45 points against Memphis in a game in November, which doesn't really actually matter in the grand scheme of things. But how are these guys going to respond to that type of adversity? Are they going to all say, okay, we're going to, this had nothing to do with us, the stuff that he's being investigated for, this is out of our control, we're going to all stick together and, we're going to come out and win this game? Or is everybody just going to be so shell-shocked by everything that's gone down in the last, I guess now it would be like 36 hours, that everybody just is, it's completely flat? That would be a completely understandable reaction for people to have, for guys on the team to have. But it's going to go one of those two ways. It's either going to be they come out and they look awesome and they win, or they lose by 40.
You're right. I agree with that. I think they're going to respond well, and I'm anxious to see them get out there and really get after it tonight. The unfortunate part in all of the news that's gone down over the last 48 hours that it does take away from so many great things to discuss coming out of that opening game against Minnesota. Yes, I understand they did not win the game, but so many of the things that we saw throughout the course of the evening in terms of how they wanted to approach the season and play, we saw. And Tom Habistro on that call this morning, that, with the movement of their offense and the pace they played at, they got 24 uncontested threes. They only had 6 of them, but that was a product of the offense and the movement. Yeah. And the overall intensity level, you don't have to be a basketball coach to be able to watch that game and feel and see what you and I did. I mean, they were really competitive on both ends, and we saw, guys out there flying around, which was a lot of fun to watch.
Everything that we'd been hearing about in training camp was on display in that game. That everybody had been, Chauncey had been talking about, we want to have this defensive identity. We want to make teams hate having to play against us. And they did that. And Anthony Edwards said afterwards that there's no easy wins in Portland anymore. That's, one of the 5 or 6 best players in the NBA. They've been talking about this new offense with a lot more ball movement and playing at a faster pace. And, they wanted to reinvent that. That was all there. I mean, they missed a bunch of open threes in the fourth quarter, but the way that they were playing was, it was what they had been talking about. It wasn't like, every single training camp, every coach is like, oh, yeah, we want to play faster. We really just want to completely, push the pace and all and shoot more. And then it just never ends up happening. That was actually there. And then, on some of the individual player levels, Jeremy Grant, kind of a little bit of a controversial thing, him coming off the bench, he was their Blazers' best player. And in that 6-man role, that's a great spot for him. Shaedon Sharpe, wins the starting spot. He had a terrible shooting night. He shot 5 for 20, but the way that he played, he was locked in defensively. He was doing all the things that everybody said that he's been doing during training camp, and what he was doing in the preseason. He played. I liked the way that he played, even though the shots weren't going down for him. So every single thing that Chauncey and all the players had been talking about during training camp, it was all there on opening night. And then about 6 hours after the game ends, here we are.
I think a lot of fans are wondering, with Tiago Splitter taking over as acting head coach, how does it change? The lineup, the way they approach, is it the same, or are there tinkerings? How do you see that playing out?
I would think in the short term they'll probably, and obviously Tiago's going to talk at 5:15, so we'll get a chance to ask him this directly. That's going to be a very interesting media availability, certainly probably the most interesting media availability pregame for a coach that I can remember, and God, I don't know how long. But I would imagine probably for tonight, he just kind of keeps things the way that they are, just because there's already so much chaos going around right now, and so much, so many things are changing, and nobody really knows what's going on beyond kind of what's out there publicly in the news about what happened to Chauncey or whatever. So he might just say, you know what, for right now, what we were doing in the last game worked, even though they lost that game. What they were doing worked. Let's keep that going for a little bit. Kind of keep the same game plan, and then if they need to adjust later on, they can adjust.
That's terrific. Sean Hyken, our Trailblazer insider, with us here. A couple of things that jumped out at me. I thought Donovan Klinga played really well, and in a tough challenge against a big like Rudy Gobert.
He had that one in his first shift at the beginning of the game. He had that. He got him right at the rim. He stuffed him right at the rim. So that's, I thought Donovan played well, and then even he got up 4 threes. He hit 2 of them. Like ever since they drafted him, they've been talking about he actually is a good 3-point shooter, even though he never shot threes in college. And I've always, whenever I hear that kind of stuff from coaches, I'm always like, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, that's kind of what you have to say about any big man. And I'm not saying they should ever, draw up a play to get Donovan Klinga a 3-pointer. That's because that's just not his game, and that's never been his game. That's probably never going to be his game. But if he has that shot and it's open, he's good enough at shooting him that he can take him. Yeah, there's no question about that. The other player, I don't know exactly what Blake Wesley is, but I like his game. He's really annoying. And I mean that as such a compliment. It's kind of the same thing as Matisse Thybulle, where like when Chauncey talked about like I want teams to hate playing against us, those are the two guys that I think are
true.
Outside of like Denny and Tumani, but like Blake Wesley's like picking, this was, he was picking Mike Conley, who's, veteran, been in the NBA for, 18, 19 years now. Picks him up full court, picks up, gets Mike Conley as a veteran, makes a move, draws a foul on him. Very next possession, Blake Wesley picks him up full court again. Like, that's what he's there to do, and that's what he's doing, and it's got to be really annoying to play against.
He's got really long arms.
Yeah.
Super long arms, but it's little things like that, like, when you have players that have unique skill set, they don't have to be great scorers. Like sometimes you can just have a role to be on the floor to be an annoying defender, right? And to use that length to be able to get into passing lanes and create some disruption. So I thought that was pretty nice. So, I thought it was interesting too how early in the game he went right to his bench, and we saw, 10 guys get in, and at one point early in the game, everyone that had hit the floor had scored. So it was neat to see them kind of get a little bit of everyone into the mix.
And Chauncey had been talking about that, which was, and it feels so weird to talk about like this is what this coach that's not here anymore said that he was going to do, but it is what it is. But Chauncey had been talking about, since they're playing a faster pace, they wanted to had to play more guys so the guys got less tired. The first quarter, they had 10 guys in the game. I mean, really ended up being more of a 9-man rotation because Young Hansen was, he played the 5 minutes in the first half and didn't play at all in the second half, so he wasn't really a factor. But, you're going to start to see, and then maybe, at some point, maybe like Rayon Rupert gets in, maybe, some of the two-way guys, Caleb Love, like they're going to be able to mix and match and do a lot of different stuff.
That's totally fascinating. Trailblazers and Warriors coming up tonight at 7 o'clock. And what I like about tonight's matchup, like Minnesota's tough because championship quality team. They've got Anthony Edwards. They've got, good defense. We saw them mix it up with the zone in that second half. But tonight's matchup against the Warriors, another good challenge for Portland because of the way they move the basketball. So defensively, they're going to be tasked with a different matchup tonight that's equally as tough.
And they looked pretty good against them, at least in that first preseason game, which that game, they gave up 51 in the fourth quarter of the preseason game when neither team was really playing their guys. I'm not really putting too much into that. But the first half of that Warriors game, the Warriors played all their guys, and they have 4 Hall of Famers in their starting. I guess Al Horford's not starting, I don't think, but they have 4 Hall of Famers in their rotation.
Yes.
And the Blazers outplayed them in that half, and in that really for that first 3 quarters of that first preseason game. And obviously, like this team is a team that this Golden State team is a team that has been together for so long and is so used to stuff that this is actually kind of the worst matchup for these guys to play on a day like this where everything is just completely
upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's tough. But, the one thing, and I think you and I talked about this yesterday, the one thing I know about athletes, especially pro athletes, most of them are really good at adjusting on the fly because they're used to change. They're used to coaches being fired, lineup changes, injuries. Part of their job is just adjusting and going out and doing what they do. And they also have a unique ability to be able to compartmentalize, and once they hit the floor, they just focus on their task.
Yeah, and this is kind of the ultimate compartmentalization of, because this isn't just, someone's injured or, this is, and it's not even just like, oh, your coach got arrested. This is the biggest story in sports, and it's one of the biggest stories in the country right now, not just in sports. I'm sure everybody in every one of these guys' lives, even people who are not sports fans, my parents barely follow this stuff, and I woke up among the 104 unread text messages I had on my phone when I woke up yesterday were from people in my life who are not even sports fans. Hey, what's going on with this?
Yeah. Me too. From your readers, your listeners, your viewers, from Blazer fans, from people that reach out to you, is there a common theme in terms of people's reaction, or does it vary? What are you getting? What feedback are you getting from the Blazer fans?
I think people are just still trying to figure out what's going on and what it means. And, another layer of uncertainty that has to be talked about here is, remember on opening night, who was sitting with Joe and Jody Allen? Tom Dundon. And ahead of, after that game, I was thinking, he had to have liked what he had seen. This is probably between this and, getting Shaden and Tumani on those contracts and all the buy-in that Chauncey seemed to have had. This is probably a good, case that Chauncey and Joe were making to the new owners that he shouldn't just clean house and do that. And then obviously the Chauncey thing was out of anybody's control, but I'm really curious now with this hanging over the franchise, what happens with some of the other changes that could be made. I don't know.
Well, you were at the post-game presser. I don't know if it was you or Joe or somebody, maybe it was Mike. They asked him if he had a chance to meet Dundon. He said yes. In passing.
Yeah, and he said it was awesome and that it's going to be awesome and things are going to change around here, and things have certainly changed around here.
The most popular soundbite in the post-game presser was Chauncey saying, you know me, I just let the chips fall where they may.
I've got a better one for you.
Okay.
2 days earlier, it was the practice the day after Shaden and Tumani signed their extensions, and we were talking to Chauncey about it. And he was talking about his first major free agent negotiation during his playing career when he signed a 6-year deal with Detroit in 2002. And he was talking about how at the time his agent was advising him, you should sign only a 2 or 3 year deal so that if you really ball out, you can get more money later on, or sooner, you can really maximize, your earnings. And Chauncey said, I don't want to do that. I want to sign a 6-year deal so that I have the security locked in, because I think he and his wife had just started having kids at that point. So he wanted to know that that they were good for a while and that financially they were going to be fine if he got injured or he didn't break out or whatever. And his words when talking about it were, you can't gamble with that stuff. So, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I can't say I've seen this before.
I haven't either. I've been around a while, and I've seen some crazy things. But I even asked Dwight, I was like, does this rank number one? And he's covered, even Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding. He's like, this is probably number one.
The only game that I can remember covering that's going to have a weirder atmosphere than this was the game the day Kobe died.
That was bizarre.
Remember they played the Pacers that night.
Yeah.
And, we had just gotten the news 4 hours beforehand, and obviously that's a little bit different stakes even than this, because somebody died and somebody who a lot of people cared a lot about died. But it was the mood was that's the only thing I can compare it to.
Do you have any idea on the time frame of when this will hit trial?
November 24th, as of now, is the date for the trial, and that's in New York.
All right, so November 24th. That's coming up pretty quick in New York.
Yeah,
then.
Yeah, in Brooklyn. I would imagine nothing else is going to be in Portland. Local.
Are you going to cover the trial?
I thought about it. I actually worked out with my schedule that I could have gotten out to New York, but it's the week before Thanksgiving, and I looked at flight prices, and I was like, it's not happening. But if a lot of people want to go to rosegardenreport.com and subscribe and really give me a huge influx of new money, we can make that happen maybe.
Yeah, that's true. Go to rosegardenreport.com. Sean provides the best coverage of the team, independent, and he does everything, which is terrific. All right, so we talked about the two ways it could go. What do you anticipate? Like, I think they're going to respond and play well. Do you expect them to play well tonight, or do you think they're going to fall flat in the storm of all the news and the Warriors will annihilate them with their movement?
I kind of lean that way. I kind of think everybody's going to just be so shaken up by this thing, and that's totally understandable. Like, you can't really hold it against anybody if something like this happens and then you're not exactly ready to play a basketball game the next. But I'll tell you this, if they do come out ready to play, and even if they don't win, if they have a similar performance to what they did the other night against Minnesota, that I think would speak very well of Thiago Splitter and the chances that he would have of retaining this job beyond just an interim level at some point.
Have you had have you been around Thiago? Have you had a chance to talk to him much or not so much?
I don't know him well. I've talked to him a few times in Vegas at Summer League. I do know that
do the players like him?
Seems like they do. I mean, he's a respected guy. He was on those Spurs championship teams at least the last championship team, the two teams that made the finals in 13 and 14. I know I've tell you this, I've been talking to a lot of our friends in the Chinese media. They're all pretty excited about this development because Splitter has worked very closely with Young Hansen since the draft, and he also, when he was a player development coach in Houston, he worked a lot with Alperen Şengün, who's a player that A, Hansen looks up to, and B, has kind of a similar skill set, and so they, I think that's one player that could benefit greatly from Thiago having more of an influence in the way they play and stuff.
I heard a number on Wednesday that they were anticipating like 20 million plus viewers for the regular season game opener against Minnesota. How many viewers are they getting per Blazer game now with the regular season? What are they anticipating?
I have no idea. You could literally tell me any number like that, and I'd probably believe it. That's kind of it's
based on the 5 million they were pulling for summer league.
Summer
games?
league, like for an actual NBA game, especially his first one, like it's. And I'll say this: I was talking to one of the reporters from Tencent that I've gotten to know over the course of this last month that they've all been covering it in camp, and I asked him.
That's his name, Tencent?
Tencent is the network.
Oh, network. Okay.
Tencent is the is.
I was wondering if there's any relation to 50 Cent.
Tencent is the name of the network that that ESPN partners with in China that broadcast their games, but They said, or I asked this person, what are your expectations for his debut tonight? And they said that Yao Ming's first game in the NBA, he had 0 points and 2 rebounds, and they were just hoping that he would do a little bit better than that. And so I think we'll call it a wash because he played 5 minutes. He had 2 points off made free throws, 1 rebound, missed his only field goal attempt. So, kind of a similarly, he got out there. He had scored his first NBA points, but he got hammered by Jaden McDaniels. That's your welcome to the NBA moment.
How great would a win be tonight, though, for this team and everything that's gone on over the last 48 hours?
Oh, it would be huge. I mean, it would be after, if you can come back from something like this.
Yeah.
Like that's massive.
All right, Sean Highkin. Make sure you check him out. Go to rosegardenreport.com. He is our Trailblazer insider, and you can follow him on social at Highkin. Great work today, man, and great work over the last 40 hours. You've been on the ball, buddy.
I've been trying.
Been doing more than that. You've been balling, dude. You're a baller, man. All right, we'll keep things going. Chris Burkhart going to join me. Coming up next, we'll get a preview on game day and get his take on what's going to happen tonight. Big thanks to Sean Highkin. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Chris Burkhardt. He's got Blazers game day coming up at 5 o'clock, and he's with me right now. All right, so I really think the Blazers are going to respond and play well tonight. In fact, I'm calling my shot right now. They're going to win the game. I really believe that, but it could also go the other way, which is what Sean's afraid of, where the news and the chaos just causes a team to come out and fall flat against a veteran team that knows how to execute. How do you see things playing out, honestly?
Yeah.
Which way do you think it's going to go?
Honestly, I think this game has a lot riding on it, and I think the team responds. When you have guys in your locker room like Drew Holiday and Damian Lillard who can lead this team in the right direction, a guy in Thiago that they trust, of course, Nate Bjorkgren, who's been here and is a good leader too. You look to those guys, and they get you on course, and they make sure you stay the course. So if you come out tonight, it's not about this sounds so cheesy, but more so than any other regular season game, it's not about the win or loss. It's about how you approach the game and play the game. And if they play this game like they did against Minnesota, you probably feel good. All things considered, everything working against them, that they came out and still showed that they're focused and together as a team.
I know that a win or a loss, it's not going to make or break the season, second game of the year in the NBA schedule, but I can't think of a more important night to get a win than tonight.
I would agree. Like I said, I know that I just said that it doesn't matter, but the win would definitely help. And then when you walk into that locker room post-game with just a little bit of something just to be happy about and come around, that's the type of thing that can just bring a unit together during a tough time. If you get over there, this is what you need. You need the celebration in the post-game locker room where they shower Thiago Splitter with the water, and they give him the game ball for his first head coaching win in the NBA. That type of thing that within that moment you forget about everything else extracurricular that's going on.
The cool thing is I think Thiago Splitter is going to meet with the press here in a few minutes. You'll have that on game day when you go in the coach's corner. I can't wait to hear that. Jeez, it's going to be good.
Yeah, I wonder how much coaching he's been doing, not coaching his players, but PR coaching and learning to make sure he says the right things, because he's probably going to get peppered with some questions here, and it's no fault of his own.
That's awesome. Chris Burkhardt's got game day coming up. What impressed you the most with the play Wednesday night? Was it the energy and effort that we saw on both ends? Was it Jeremy Grant off the bench with 29 points? The play of Donovan Clingan in his work against Rudy Gobert? Like, what really caught your eye?
Well, Donovan really, he didn't surprise me. Figured he'd be ready to go. What did surprise me was just the absolute all-out tenacity on the defensive side of the ball. There was no let-up. They were picking up 94 feet the entire time. They were fighting through screens. They were switching well. It's high praise when a guy who goes off on you tells you how hard it was for him to go off on you. And Anthony Edwards saying that, you know what? There's no such thing anymore as coming into Portland and getting an easy win, because if they play like that, they're a tough team.
I popped a rod when I heard him say that, because to me, and you know this as well as you do, Ant Edwards isn't going to say anything like that if he doesn't mean it. He doesn't care.
No.
But he went out of his way to point out the fact that, hey, I respect the way they guarded. Gosh, that's good.
And I love the in-game battle too. You notice him and Tumani kind of going at it, and we've seen Tumani do that. He did it his rookie year where he was like chirping out LeBron James.
I saw there was one play where Ant finished off a tough drive, and he turned and had words for Tumani. I was like, I respect it, man. I love that. That side of basketball is what I'm talking about. The game within the game.
And those things are so fun because those guys like Tumani and Ant are known to be buds. But when you're on the court, that doesn't matter. And you're just going at it and trying to one-up each other. And it's crazy because I don't think Tumani played like terrible defense on that last position. He did bite on the kind of the fake drive thinking he was going to go in, and it gave Ant space. But sometimes really, really good defenders, and Tumani is one of the best, get beat by really, really good offensive players, and Ant Edwards is one of the best. That's the type of matchup within the matchup that you just love as a basketball fan.
That's what I love about, even when you play yourself, you're playing a pickup game. There's nothing like looking at another man and saying, come on, ho, you and me. It's the best. Where you're trying to give them the business out there. I love that, man.
It is fun. You got to talk a little trash now and then, and it gets the juices going, gets you amped up.
Oh, it's so good. Just like Larry Bird when he'd look at like John Sal, he's like, "You guys aren't calling for a double team, Sal? Better call for the double team." I just love that kind of stuff, man.
It's the ultimate. I've told you the story, like playing baseball when the catcher was talking smack to me, and I told him, I go, "You better not let me get on base because I'm stealing first pitch, and you're not good enough to throw me out." I told him that. Ball 4 came. I dropped my bat. I looked at him. I go, "I'm stealing first pitch, and I'm going to be safe."
Gosh, that's
Guess
so
who
good.
stole second base? This guy.
So good. You called your shot. That's what Larry Bird used to say. Hey, you got no brothers? He used to hate when they put a white guy on him. He thought it was the ultimate disrespect. I think Dominique Wilkins, first time he played him, I think Bird called him Holmes. And he's like, "Did that guy just call me Holmes?" I think one of my favorite ones, too, with Bird was, I think it was, I don't know if it was Dominique or if it was Sean Kemp, but Bird came down and put up a 3 from like early in the shot clock, and it was an air ball. And he was talking to him on the way back up the court, and he goes, "You know what's amazing?" He goes, "I can do that and stay in the game. I bet you can't." Isn't that great?
I love that.
It's like, "Coach ain't going to take me. I can shoot whatever I want."
I love that. Bird would have been – he would have had a lot of players in this era just shaking in their boots once he dropped that jaw of his, man.
That's great. Absolutely terrific. All right. Let's see here. Tip-off's coming up at 7. Chris Burkhart's going to have game day. And then, of course, you can check him out after the game with fifth quarter. That end of the Warriors game last night was nasty, man. Watching Steph Curry just get off from deep. It's like, are you kidding me? He's so good.
Let me tell you what. Lost in the craziness that has been the off-court stuff in the NBA over the last 24 hours is that the opening to this season on the court has been phenomenal. I mean, OKC going to overtime twice. Victor Wembanyama absolutely going ham with a 40-15 game, looking like he's built in a lab just to be the best basketball player in the universe. Steph Curry showing that he is still Steph Curry. The start to the season, basketball-wise, has been pretty awesome. No
question about it. All right, big thanks to our guest today. Sean Highkin came up and joined me here. We appreciate that. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, came on. You respect the fact that he pulled over off the 405 because he respects sound quality.
I am an ally of good audio, he said. I love it.
All right. And the tip-off's coming up at 7. I'll have the network pregame show at 6, and Chris Burkhardt after the game will have fifth quarter, so make sure you tune in. You can also listen live via our free iHeartRadio app and check us out on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com and pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio 620. All right, stay tuned. Burkhardt's got game day coming up next. You guys enjoy your Friday night and enjoy the basketball game coming up at 7.